experience, which completely crushes the trainees' confidence, making them feel useless. This white-haired girl is not about to take that sitting down though, her expression hardening. And Blake gives a slight smile, seeing the fire ignite in his students. She stands up and respectfully asks that they be allowed to undertake the mission, before the rest of the squad jumps up shouting that they can do it too. This knight smirks, deciding to test their skills right then and there, so he steps out into the middle of the hall ready for a 3-on-1 fight. He lays out the rules: if they can land a single attack on him, they win. And to make it fair, he declares he will not even use magic, which is a massive handicap. This blatant disrespect completely sets the trainees off, and they are not having it, immediately launching a full-power coordinated magic assault right at him. But in the very next instant, all three of them are on the floor, completely defeated, leaving the orange-haired kid absolutely stunned by what just happened. He flashes back to the fight, realizing the knight dodged every single one of their spells, who then reveals he was trained by someone named Lady Walburga, so he'd never lose to mages. We then see two other members of the hero's party who have been watching this whole time, and the silver-haired one is introduced as the vanguard of the party. Turns out this Walburga is the legendary sword saint, a master of the blade, and she is apparently an expert at fighting magicians, meaning the kids never stood a chance. This knight looks down on the defeated trainees, saying he cannot trust the mission to weaklings, but their leader is not giving up, asking how long they have until the ceremony. 3 weeks. He then challenges the knight, asking if he will accept them if they get stronger by then, and the knight actually agrees, promising to reevaluate them 3 days before the event. With a new goal set, the squad leader turns to his team to see if they are up for it. And they all roar back with renewed determination, vowing to pass his test no matter what. Alice and Etta see the squad off, wishing them good luck with their training, and the 3 trainees are totally fired up, ready to prove themselves. This knight who tested them watches from afar, still skeptical they can improve in just 3 weeks. But that does not stop the kids from vowing to conquer whatever Blake throws at them. We then cut to the Mecha Forest, where their special training is about to begin. And by training, I mean they are immediately running for their lives from a pack of monsters, while Blake just casually floats above them on a magic platform, telling them to try harder. He yells down that they will not get any stronger by just running away from the problem, which just makes the orange-haired kid snap, completely fed up with the whole ordeal. He finally turns and unleashes a massive fire spell straight at the monster chasing them, which connects in a huge explosion, seemingly taking the beast down for good. But a powerful wind blade slices right through the flames without even slowing. This attack barely misses him, leaving him stunned by how close that call was, and a much bigger, scarier dragon-like monster emerges from the smoke, looking angry. This trainees realize their magic is not very effective, and they start to panic. Blake just tells them they have to figure it out themselves for the training to have any meaning, right as the dragon monster lunges in for the kill on our orange-haired friend. Before it can land a hit, a powerful lightning barrier erupts and blocks its massive jaws, revealing Blake, who promises he will step in to protect them when things get truly dangerous. He then unleashes a massive ice spell, encouraging them to keep fighting and push their limits. This squad is all fired up, but the orange-haired kid has no idea how they are supposed to get stronger, until the white-haired girl remembers a key piece of advice from Blake, who had told them he could not actually train their specific magic types, since his specialty is barrier magic and they already know the fundamentals of everything else. This leaves them totally stumped, wondering what their next move is, until they recall his final instruction to play the cards they were already dealt. It finally clicks and they realize he wanted them to focus on their own unique strengths, so they immediately start enhancing their individual abilities instead of learning new spells. This white-haired girl uses her wind magic to easily dodge a monster's attack, while the orange-haired kid counters with a massive, concentrated fire blast. Just as he is celebrating, the black-haired girl warns him not to get distracted, before she unleashes a huge volley of dark magic to take down another beast. After their first successful coordinated takedown, the team is absolutely ecstatic. Blake watches from a distance, noting that their teamwork is multiplying their power, and if they can master that synergy, they will become way stronger than before. On day 2, he puts them through some brutal physical conditioning to build up their stamina, and day 3 is all about combat sense, teaching them to read an opponent's movements. He drills them on understanding their own capabilities and fighting as a cohesive unit, and the days fly by in a blur of intense training and leveling up their teamwork. Until finally, with 3 days left, the knight announces it is time for their re-examination. This trainees step up for their re-evaluation, absolutely convinced they are going to win this time, but the knight just sees it as excessive confidence, thinking Blake must have just hyped them up. He is ready to serve them a nice hot plate of reality, so the orange-haired kid goes for a first strike, launching a massive fireball. It barrels right towards the knight, who does not even flinch, and with a single swing of his sword, he calls the attack useless and cuts it in half. Before he can gloat, the black-haired girl jumps in with her own dark magic spell, firing a concentrated blast of energy right at his face. He dodges again though, knocking her to the ground while calling her attack useless too. For a split second, the knight actually looks a little surprised, thinking she almost landed a hit, and he realizes they have used magic to enhance their physical abilities. He cracks a small smile, admitting their teamwork is actually not bad, but he continues to effortlessly parry every single spell they throw at him with his sword. Even as the girls use their new speed to attack from multiple angles, he is just too fast, leaving the kids already exhausted and realizing how massive the power gap still is. Standing there completely untouched, the knight just taunts them, asking if that is all they have got. That is the final straw, and the trainees decide it is time to go all or nothing. So they quickly surround him, getting into position for one last coordinated attack. All three of them leap into the air, closing in on him from every direction, and they unleash their newly acquired magic in a final, desperate gambit. Their combined magic erupts in a massive, multi-elemental blast right on top of the knight, who is genuinely shocked to realize their power has already reached an intermediate level, and for the first time he is actually forced to block their attack head-on, barely managing to weave his way through the absolute storm of spells. When the smoke finally clears, he is still standing there completely untouched, which leaves the orange-haired kid totally crushed, knowing he dodged even that. From the sidelines, one of the hero's party members declares that the fight is over, as the trainees collapse to the floor, completely out of mana and feeling defeated. But Blake steps forward with a proud smile, telling them they should be proud of their growth. And the kids look up from the ground, exhausted but listening to their teacher. That is when the knight delivers his final verdict: they all pass the test. This completely confuses the squad since they did not even manage to land a single hit. But the knight admits their magic was genuinely impressive, even kneeling down to tell them their growth in just 3 weeks was remarkable. He says he is now confident they will be fine for the mission, leaving them all speechless. And Blake comes over to congratulate his students on a job well done. These trainees are absolutely ecstatic, finally realizing they actually did it, celebrating together as all their brutal training finally pays off in a huge way. Alice and Etta watch the wholesome scene, commenting on their great master-disciple relationship, and they agree that with Blake's team on the job, the ceremony should be perfectly safe. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded guy in the crowd is hoping everything goes smoothly. 3 weeks later, it is the day of the Demon King subjugation ceremony, and the whole city is celebrating. This hero's party rides through the parade with Blake and his 2 companions on the main float, and our newly minted guard squad is on high alert, feeling the pressure of the huge event. Blake glances back, hoping Alice and Etta are doing okay in the carriage behind them. But his party members are way more relaxed, trying to strike up a casual conversation. He quickly shuts that down, reminding them to stay focused on the mission for now, because deep down he knows they absolutely cannot afford to fail this escort mission. It turns out the hero and her companions are being targeted by assassins, and Blake had already warned the trainees about the constant threats and kidnapping attempts. Their orders were simple and grim: protect the hero's party with their lives. So Blake keeps his eyes peeled, scanning the crowd for any sign of trouble, and that is when we see our hooded friend from earlier looking absolutely furious in the crowd, seething about some worthless piece of trash he is clearly here to find. He suddenly shoves his way through the onlookers, making a beeline for the parade, and steps right in front of the float, screaming for them to stop. This whole party looks down, completely caught off guard by the interruption, and Blake is shocked to recognize the guy, calling him out as Gunther. This knight who tested the trainees immediately hops off the float to handle this, ordering the guards to capture Gunther and show no mercy if he puts up a fight. But Gunther is completely unhinged, muttering that Alice is his and he is going to kill Blake. So when a guard tries to stop him, he just gives the guy a creepy smile, before blasting him with a massive fire spell to clear the way. This sends the entire crowd into a full-blown panic, screaming and running for their lives, and everyone realizes he is a powerful magician as he stands in the flames. Just then, Etta comes sprinting onto the scene to help out, immediately unleashing a water spell to deal with the fire, dousing the guards who got caught in that initial fiery blast. Seeing their chance, the newly trained guard squad jumps right into the fray, with the orange and black-haired kids tackling Gunther to restrain him. He completely loses it, screaming about how they are just foolish commoners, but they still manage to pin the guy to the ground pretty easily. Though even while pinned, he is just cursing everyone out, looking up at the hero's float. He starts ranting about how if he cannot have someone, then no one can, deciding he is just going to burn everything to the ground in a final attack. He unleashes a massive point-blank explosion, ready to take everyone out with him. But the white-haired trainee just watches the blast coming, completely unfazed, because Blake suddenly appears, effortlessly blocking the entire explosion with one hand. Gunther is absolutely stunned, realizing who just stopped his attack, and he seethes, calling Blake a damn barrier mage for interfering again. Blake stands over the defeated Gunther, completely unfazed by the whole ordeal, while Alice just looks down at the guy, asking why he would cause such a scene. Still pinned to the ground, Gunther starts screaming for Alice to come back to him, ranting like a total psycho about some love confession that apparently never happened. Alice is just completely baffled, pointing out that they have barely even spoken to each other. But Gunther is now being dragged away by guards, still insisting they were deeply in love. His desperate cries echo through the street as the crowd just watches the whole meltdown, and Etta just calls him pitiful for being so lost in his own delusions. This whole thing has Alice super flustered, turning to Blake to clear things up, and she blurts out that she has never even dated anyone, which seems to catch him off guard. Etta just watches this exchange with a knowing little smirk on her face, before getting Alice's attention to make sure she is okay after the attack. With the situation handled, a guard announces that the attacker is in custody, and the crowd erupts in cheers, totally impressed by how the hero's escorts handled everything. This parade gets back on track with the party continuing their procession through the city, and Alice admits she is so glad they hired Blake, feeling much safer with him around. He just gives a humble smile, downplaying his role by saying he only put up a barrier. Alice then looks over at the trainee squad, adding that they are pretty skilled too. So Blake explains that even though people call them dropouts, he thinks they are excellent. He finishes with a confident look, saying they just have not realized their own potential yet. After the parade, the trainee squad gets to attend the celebration party, and Sven is absolutely losing it. He is just in awe of the massive, fancy ballroom full of nobles. His teammates try to get him to chill out, telling him he is being embarrassing. But the white-haired trainee backs him up, reminding them they were personally invited. Of course, some snotty-looking nobles are already giving them the side-eye from across the room, and the kids quickly notice everyone staring, realizing they do not exactly blend in. Suddenly, Alice shows up to check on them, asking if they are having a good time, which completely catches the whole squad off guard, leaving them totally flustered. Turns out both Alice and Etta got all dressed up for the occasion, and they look absolutely stunning in their formal party dresses. Even those judgmental nobles from before are now completely captivated by their beauty, as the two of them just stand there looking elegant while everyone gawks. So the white-haired trainee steps up to compliment them, saying they look gorgeous. And Alice is super happy with the praise, thanking him with a big smile. Etta, on the other hand, is a little more reserved with her gratitude, just as Blake makes his entrance, also looking sharp, and praises the white-haired kid for his performance. He humbly gives credit to Sven and the others for their work though, which immediately gives Sven a big head, pointing to himself like he is the MVP. His teammates just roll their eyes, commenting on how quickly praise goes to his head. So Blake turns his attention to Clara, making sure to praise her for handling things so well too. Clara gets super shy from all the praise, blushing like crazy, and she gets so flustered she tells him he is praising her way too much. This catches the attention of Blake's party members, who wonder when he got so close with Lancelot. He and Sven just stand there looking cool, soaking in the attention for a moment, as the party gets into full swing and the trainees try to enjoy themselves, though mostly by demolishing the buffet while nobles gossip about how shabby they look. One particularly snotty guy sneers that the hero's escorts just do not belong in high society, and Blake, who overhears this, admits he is feeling a bit uncomfortable himself. He changes the subject, asking his companion where the other two members of their party are, but apparently one is skipping the party and the other got swarmed by admirers. Blake seems a little disappointed he cannot greet them, but he is told they will meet eventually. So with the orchestra playing, the party continues in full swing, leaving Blake just standing around, not really sure what to do with himself. That is when his party member grabs his hand, excitedly telling him it is time to dance, which catches our boy completely off guard since he has never actually danced before. She just pulls him onto the floor anyway, assuring him that it'll be totally fine. And with a confident wink, she tells him to just follow her lead. He looks super nervous at first, while she is clearly having the time of her life, but he quickly starts to get the hang of it as she leads him through the steps. And before long, they are both smiling, dancing gracefully in the middle of the ballroom. Meanwhile, Clara and Etta are just standing there looking completely unimpressed by the party, while Sven and the black-haired girl are having the time of their lives at the buffet table. Suddenly, Lancelot approaches Etta with his hand outstretched and formally asks if she would like to have a dance with him. She absolutely lights up, grabbing his hand and shouting a very enthusiastic yes. As they start dancing, the red-haired hero watches them from the side, and a small, genuine smile appears on his face for the first time. His companion notices this, surprised that he is capable of smiling like that, so he admits that meeting Blake seems to have changed him quite a bit. She totally gets it, agreeing that Blake is a pretty special person, and muses that he seems to influence everyone around him for better or worse. This conversation then shifts back to the attacker from the parade, Lord Gunther, with his companion asking what is going to happen to him now. He grimly states that Gunther will most likely be executed for his crimes, cutting to the guy himself looking absolutely terrified in his prison cell. She takes in the news with a somber expression, clearly a little shaken by the harsh sentence. This hero tries to comfort her, saying it was not her fault he was obsessed, which seems to work as she thanks him with a relieved smile. A few days later, the celebration is finally over and it is time to move on. This entire group gathers outside the castle, ready to depart for the next leg of their journey. Lancelot points out they are immediately heading on an expedition after the ceremony, calling it a tough schedule, but Alice just cheerfully accepts it as the hero's party's duty, mentioning their report on the Demon King. Lancelot adds that it is also a political flex for their kingdom, though Blake would rather be studying barriers. Before they leave, the hero tells Blake to be careful and to take care of the capital while they are gone, and Blake just gives a simple got it, totally unfazed by the responsibility. Etta then rushes over to Blake for a private word, getting right up in his face to whisper that she will be counting on him again when she gets back. He agrees with a smile and pats her head, much to the shock of the entire trainee squad. With that, the carriage takes off and the squad waves them goodbye, as Lancelot and the hero shout for them to have a safe trip. This carriage disappears down the road, leaving them behind, and Sven just watches them go, stating the obvious. This hero then points out this is the first time the party has actually left the capital, since defeating the Demon King, and Lancelot's expression turns grim. His serious look hints that maybe things are not as peaceful as they seem. Which cuts to Gunther rotting in a cell as someone voices their hope that nothing bad happens. Yeah, about that, a super creepy grin suggests something is definitely about to happen. 1 week after the hero's departure, the city seems perfectly calm and normal, with time passing without any major incidents at all. Except for Gunther, who is still just sitting in his cell, clearly plotting something. So while the hero's party is away, Gunther is just stewing in his cell. And yeah, he is definitely cooking up some kind of revenge plot with that look on his face. Several weeks pass, and Blake has been putting the trainee squad through some intense magic training, until he finally calls the session to a halt for the day. This whole squad is completely wiped out, complaining that they have hit their limit. So Sven immediately starts whining to Lancelot about wanting a real mission instead of just training. Clara points out that no missions means the kingdom is at peace, which is a good thing, but Sven is just itching for a fight, bragging about how strong they have gotten and demanding some excitement. His little outburst is cut short when Lancelot's eyes suddenly go wide, which completely freaks Sven out, and he immediately starts apologizing, thinking he is in trouble for being too loud. Lancelot is not even listening though, because he senses something approaching and grimly says, "It is coming." Right on cue, a knight comes running in with urgent news, screaming that a massive wave of miasma is heading straight for the capital. His trainees are stunned since miasma is obviously a huge deal, and Blake and Lancelot share a look that just screams, "Here we go." Without a second's hesitation, Blake powers up and leads the squad into action, as they all stand ready for whatever is about to hit them. Looking up, they see a horrifying purple cloud of demonic energy rolling over the city. And the civilians below can only stare in terror, having no idea what is happening. This miasma crashes down into the city streets, and everyone starts screaming to run for their lives. A mother frantically tries to escape with her son, but the little guy trips and falls right as the darkness closes in. She throws herself over him, shielding him with her own body, when suddenly a bright blue light envelops them both. A barrier forms just in time, protecting them from the corrupting energy. As a massive pillar of light shoots into the sky from the capital's center, it expands into a gigantic dome, sealing the entire city off from the miasma cloud. The civilians can only stare up in awe at the glowing shield that just saved them all. Lancelot watches as the miasma dissipates against the barrier's edge. And of course, it is Blake, who explains he just put up a little shield around the capital. Lancelot is stunned by the scale of the magic and asks how long he can possibly maintain it. Blake just casually says, "Probably a few months," like it is nothing, though he admits he had to rush it without setting up a proper magic circle. Their conversation is cut short by explosions rocking the city from within the barrier. A couple of absolutely unhinged mages in hoods are leading the attack, screaming for their forces to kill everyone. Their followers immediately start blasting civilians with fire magic, causing total chaos in the streets. Lancelot realizes with horror that this is not a monster attack, it is a civil war. He instantly takes command, telling Blake to hold the barrier while he deploys the other squads. As he leaps into action, he wonders if this is a rebellion or an invasion from another country. Sven and the girls are running through the chaos, totally blindsided by the sudden attack. As civilians flee in terror, one of the hooded mages targets a young girl with a fireball, but Lancelot intercepts the blast at the last second with a clean swipe of his hand. He immediately takes charge, ordering everyone to prioritize getting the civilians to safety. A command Sven takes to heart, shielding a kid from another fiery explosion. This rest of the royal magicians jump into the fray, using their own magic to counter the attackers. And the squad starts directing people towards safe evacuation routes. This gets them noticed by the hooded mages, who mark them as primary targets to be eliminated. Sven barely dodges a massive fire spell aimed right at him, which just seems to annoy the attackers perched on the rooftops above. Meanwhile, the black-haired girl easily evades a similar attack, mocking them for their terrible aim, which is Clara's cue to step up and cast an enhancement buff on the squad. Now powered up, Sven and his partner get ready to unleash some serious payback, launching a coordinated magical assault on the enemy mages. Their combined attack hits dead-on, wiping out the first wave of attackers in a huge blast. Sven is absolutely hyped, bragging that this is a piece of cake compared to Blake's training, though Clara has a mini flashback to that hellish training and thinks she almost died for a second time. Their moment of victory is cut short as more hooded mages emerge from the shadows surrounding them. Realizing they are completely outnumbered, the trainees stand back to back, ready for a real fight, and Sven does not hesitate, diving straight into the enemy mob with a massive fire blast. Clara immediately joins the fray with her own wind magic, while her partner counters with a volley of dark energy projectiles. Amidst the chaos, though, a small child is left stranded in the street, crying his eyes out as the battle rages around him, and Clara spots the kid just as a hooded mage takes aim from across the square, launching a massive fireball directly at the defenseless boy. Without a second thought, she dashes forward at incredible speed, throwing herself in front of the child to shield him with her own body. Her teammate screams, watching in horror as the spell is about to hit, which results in a massive explosion right where they were standing. Sven and the others can only stare at the fiery aftermath, fearing the worst, and he is just completely stunned, muttering "no way" under his breath. But as the smoke begins to clear, a blue barrier reveals they are both perfectly safe, with Clara holding the crying kid, looking a bit shocked but totally unharmed. This gets a very relieved, if awkward, smile from her two squadmates. But then they realize it is not just her individual barriers are popping up around every civilian. These people inside are completely baffled as attacks bounce right off them.
Please subscribe for more.